Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S22 and compare it against the iPhone 14 and see which specific phone is the better one for you. Now, I'll leave both these phones linked down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, what's very interesting is both these phones are pretty much going for the same demographic, I would probably say, for this day and age. The Galaxy S22 came out earlier this year, so the iPhone 14, is the newer one. The S22 on the front looks very good, 6.1-inch dynamic AMOLED display, and it has, the hole punch up top, 1080p, definitely not a bad panel. I mean, it's a really, really good panel. Some highlights, it's a ProMotion display, which is really, really cool, and it also has a fingerprint sensor built into the display as well. So that's some really cool stuff that's pretty much been there since the S10, but it's still a really good panel that I like a lot. With the iPhone 14, it pretty much looks the same as pretty much most other iPhones right now. It is, a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and some highlights for this one, I mean, it looks good. I think the build quality is very interesting on the iPhone 14. You still have the notch, which is kind of unfortunate. No ProMotion, no 120 hertz on this, no 90 hertz either. So the panel itself isn't bad. Like, it still refreshes fairly, well. I think it looks really, really good. Unfortunately, I would probably say the iPhone 14's display isn't the greatest right now, especially considering the 14 Pro has ProMotion and the dynamic island as well. Now, in terms of thickness and thickness between both phones are pretty much almost the same thing. I mean, they both have different feeling textures on the side. You can see with the iPhone 14, the complete flat side where the S22 kind of curves at the end, volume buttons on this side. Now, we do have the SIM card tray on the Samsung Galaxy S22, but we do not have it on the iPhone 14, which is kind of unfortunate for that phone, but it is what it is. I think most people are probably already aware of that. Now, in the back, we have different type of camera styles as well. The iPhone 14 has a dual camera setup. The S22 has a triple camera setup, and I think, it's good and everything, but I would definitely say with the S22, this camera is just probably one of the best cameras of this year, so I will probably say that. With the S22, you also have this frosted glass back, which is really nice, and you also get IP certification on both, which is great. MagSafe capability on the S22 here, but you do have reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy S22, which is really cool. And that's why I keep looking at the S22, and that is just more of a flagship in my opinion. This phone just strikes to me that is like one of the best flagship phones right now, even though it's not really a flagship anymore. I mean, it is, but you can get it for much cheaper than a flagship price. And you also have Samsung DeX on the S22 as well, which gives you like a computer desktop-like experience from that phone. So I say that to say, I mean, the S22, even though it's a little bit older now, I would probably say this one is still more of a flagship than the iPhone 14 is, even though this one isn't even the flagship. Like, this one has the Plus and the Ultra on top of it. So take it as you will, but that kind of covers it up there. Now, in terms of software and longevity, this is kind of another thing to keep in mind. I mean, with the S22, this phone is probably going to be lasting, I would say, for the next 4 years easily. Samsung may even improve the software longevity again. Who knows? But this phone is not going anywhere anytime soon. With iPhones, though, they've been notorious on, just having super long software versions. I don't even know what just happened on the screen there. But the thing Apple has been doing now is kind of limiting versions of software and really stripping down features of certain phones as well. With the iPhone 11s and 10Rs, they didn't give it battery percentage, neither with the 12 mini or 13 mini, until way later, until people start complaining. And they cut down the iPhone 7 a little early too, so I'm not too sure what they're going to be doing here, but I think for the time being, they're still going to be okay. You're going to be using this phone and this phone for so long that you're probably not even going to think about buying these phones when they're done supported. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there too. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The S22 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset inside of it with 8 gigs of RAM, where the iPhone 14 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. Let's go and clear the apps in the background, which they are cleared out. S22 is here, 14 is here. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. Okay, about the same thing. Cameras 3, 2, 1. Okay, kind of the same thing too. Let's go and take a photo. No dark mode, either one of these. Open up the photo. Kind of faster on the iPhone 14 right there. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into their app stores. 3, 2, 1. Now also notice the animations. I would say even though the S22 has that, this one will load it up really fast here. Even though the S22 has that 120 Hz display, the iPhone 14 is still a very smooth display. You can kind of see over the camera that, in my opinion, the iPhone 14 looks smoother, but it is also smoother on the S22. It's kind of hard to explain. Like, the loading, I guess the way it loads on the Galaxies are a little bit different, but totally okay. As always, we have a bunch of these third-party applications we can go and open up. Now, I do want to open up Genshin Impact. It's a very big game. 3, 2, 1. Now, I've played this game a ton of times on a ton of different iPhones and phones in general, and they do really well with this game. This is a super intensive big game, and I will say with iPhones, they load it up fairly fast as you can see, but in game, it's almost the same thing. There's really very little difference if I'm being honest when you're in the game itself. Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And they both had downloaded content in the beginning with, they both loaded it out, and they both almost got into it like the same exact time. So there didn't really look like to be that big of a difference here. And it was like almost identical between both as well, which is kind of a good thing, I would say. Stack 3, 2, 1. You have to remember the iPhone 14 has like a year-old chipset as of this point because it has the same one as the iPhone 13. This one was kind of tough to tell. Snapchat 3, 2, 1. Galaxy S22 far faster there. Instagram, let's skip that one. It's going to Thank You 3, 2, 1. Okay, S22 again is a faster one there. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and get into something like Snake versus Blocks 3, 2, 1. And again, pretty close here. I don't really think there was that big of a difference. Now, like I mentioned, I've done a ton of gaming on both these phones so far, and I didn't really notice that big of a difference in the gaming atmosphere. I think they both have done a pretty good job, I would say, for the most part. So to kind of sum up the speed comparison, I mean, I think both phones did do really well. I'll probably do a full speed comparison at some point, but I think from the short one, I can't. You're not going to be able to notice that big of a difference between them at all. They're going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing. The S22 has more RAM. The A15 chip here is really optimized too for the iPhone, so that kind of covers it up there. Now in the camera department, as I've stated before, I mean both these phones have solid cameras for this day and age. I will say the S22 just doesn't even come. I mean the 14 doesn't come close to the S22. The iPhone 14 wide and ultra wide lenses, 4K at 60 on the back and front of both of these. With the S22 though, you are getting 8K capability on the back as well as an additional telephoto lens. Now on the S22, let's start here since it's the older one. And this camera has it all. You have pretty much a future-proof lens on this like crazy. It's going to be lasting a very long amount of time. Now my favorite thing about this phone is the amount of features built in. So you have, the standard photo, portrait mode, you have video mode, but under more you have a lot of different options that you can choose from. And that's something that I don't really like about iPhones, and I don't really like about Pixels either. They don't really give us that many crazy features built in. But within Samsung's, they throw in a bunch of features. So this thing can basically do it all. You have that telephoto lens and that ultra-wide sensor with 30x zoom, but it's a digital zoom for some of it. So keep that in mind. I really like the Galaxy S22 camera. It's probably one of my favorite cameras this year. With the iPhone 14, I think this is a really good lens too. And I think for probably 90, or I would say like 85% of people watching this, you're going to be perfectly content with this type of lens. Now you do have 5x zoom, but you have 0.5x zoom on the outside, which is totally cool. You have standard modes like video mode, and you can, I don't know what's going on. You do have video mode, 4K at 60, like I said. You have the new action mode, which is cool. You have cinematic mode, which the Galaxy S22 has its own version of. It's a very good phone. I think it can really do everything you throw at it. I don't think it's perfect, and I don't think it's better than the S22, but I will say, it's a jump probably from the iPhone 11 or 12 to this one. Other than that, though, it doesn't really match the S22 right now, to be honest. So that kind of covers it up there. And to kind of sum up this video, there's a lot of reasons why the iPhone 14 could be the better phone. It may last longer than the S22. I found the battery life to be better on this phone. The build quality is not better, but it feels good still. And it's an Apple device, so it's going to match well with the Apple ecosystem if you have other Apple products. But I think the S22, I mean, this is like, it's crazy when you compare these phones because this phone has so many more features and so much more of a flagship than what this phone is offering. You have 120 hertz here, better looking display, better build quality with a better camera. You have the frosted glass back, reverse wireless charging here, which is awesome. Samsung DeX, which allows you to use it as like a desktop through the USB-C port at the bottom. Pretty much matched the performance here, so there really wasn't that big of a performance gap. And yeah, I mean, and even this phone's lasting longer, not longer than the 14, but it's a longer lasting phone than what they used to be. So this phone has it all. It has a lot of features within it for a phone that probably has gone down in price to like $500 something now. So I'd probably say the Galaxy S22 is the better phone between these two. I guess the iPhone 14 is good, but like it's not that big of a difference from the 13. So that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.